Live-Pitch von Kitepower. Ich freue mich, dass wir zahlreiche Teilnehmer haben. Kitepower ist ja auch schon das zweite Unternehmen aus dem Technologiebereich Airborne Wind Technology, das FunderNation finanzieren darf. Von daher auch sehr spannend, freue mich sehr auf den heutigen Live-Pitch. Wir haben von Kitepower einmal den Peter Willems, der ist der CEO, und den Johannes Peschel, Gründer, und der war bis vor kurzem der CEO, werden sich gleich auch selber nochmal vorstellen. Und es kommt vielleicht auch noch der CEO dazu, der Dr. Claudio Vergassen, das werden wir noch sehen. Ich erkläre jetzt erstmal, wie das Ganze abläuft. Wir werden diese Veranstaltung aufzeichnen, damit diejenigen, die jetzt heute keine Zeit hatten, dabei zu kommen, das auch nochmal nachhören oder nachsehen können. Wir werden es dann auf YouTube dann veröffentlichen. Wer da jetzt anonym dabei sein möchte, der müsste sich auch anonym anmelden. Das nur kurz als Hinweis. Ansonsten haben wir jetzt erstmal einen kurzen Pitch, den der Johannes Peschel gleich macht zu Kitepower. Und danach gibt es dann die Möglichkeit, Fragen zu stellen. Das ist wie üblich über zwei Kanäle möglich. Einmal könnt ihr die Fragen auch jetzt schon auch schon während des Pitches in den Chat reinschreiben. Ich würde als Moderator die dann aufgreifen, vielleicht ein bisschen sortieren und dann stellen. Oder aber die zweite Möglichkeit ist, man klickt das Handzeichen an. Ich würde dann den oder diejenigen aufrufen, sich kurz vorzustellen und die Frage direkt zu stellen. Das sind die beiden Möglichkeiten. Ansonsten läuft es ab wie immer. Wie gesagt, freue mich, dass wir Kitepower hier haben. Und jetzt würde ich auch schon übergeben an den Johannes Peschel, den Gründer, für den Pitch. Johannes, the floor is yours.
Oh, Alex. Ja, ich werde den Pitch auf Deutsch machen. Dann kann es jeder gut verstehen. Nachher die Fragerunde machen wir auf Englisch, weil das ist die Amtssprache bei Kitepower. Vielleicht ein kurzes Intro zu meiner Person. Ich bin Johannes Peschel, Gründer von Kitepower, komme ursprünglich vom Bodensee, habe in Berlin studiert, bin in China auch einige Zeit gewesen und bin dann in den Niederlanden gelandet und dort habe ich die Firma gegründet vor 10 Jahren. Peter ist kürzlich dazugekommen. Peter, you want to give a short introduction about yourself?
Happy to do so, thank you. Very nice to meet you all, and I'm so happy that so many of you are attending this meeting. It was a real honor for me to start working at Kitepower. I have a background in renewable energy and in energy in general. I used to develop and actually sell a startup company that was about using the supply energy for the charging of electric vehicles, and in that space, I've learned a lot about how you leverage the availability of wind energy for different purposes. So now starting to work with Kitepower for me is a natural extension of what I've done in the past. And it's a great pleasure. I take the role of CEO, but I'm also very much involved from a product perspective. I really like to think about how you make a technology actually work for a market. So what value do we bring to customers? How can we gain maximum value from the products? And how can we address markets? That's where I come from. I have a marketing and product development background in that respect. And I believe that Kitepower is in a great position now with such a strong technology and a demand in society across the world for renewable energy that we can now take the next step and start to scale this up. So that's my role, and I'm very, very excited and energized to pick that up.
Danke, Peter. Ich glaube, Claudio ist auch im Meetingraum, der ist jetzt auch dazugekommen, unser CTO aus dem Silicon Valley, ist auch ein starkes Asset für das Kitepower Management Team. Ich würde jetzt zum Pitch kommen. Ja, bei Kitepower haben wir die nächste Generation von Windenergie entwickelt. Na, wir wissen ja alle, was jetzt gerade los ist mit KI und eine Menge andere Disruptionen, und ich bin alle Zukunftsszenarien durchgegangen, ne? Manche gut, manche schlechter. Das wissen wir nicht. Die Zukunft bleibt ungewiss. Aber was ich sicher weiß, sind zwei Dinge. Und zwar, die Energie die Zukunft wird energiehungrig sein. Und zweitens, die Energie müssen wir mit erneuerbaren und effizienter und ressourcenschonender decken. Deswegen sind wir mit Kitepower immer noch am richtigen Ort, egal was passiert. Wir haben das effizienteste Windenergiesystem der Welt entwickelt. Wir brauchen 90% weniger Material als konventionelle Windturbinen. Kein Turm, kein Fundament. Wer sind wir? Wir sind Kitepower. Hier. Wir sind ein Team von 24 Ingenieuren und Ingenieurinnen und eine Handvoll starker Partner, sowie die TU Delft. Wir haben bereits 11 Großprojekte erfolgreich verwirklicht, unter anderem mit Ministerium für Infrastruktur, für Verteidigung sowie die NATO. Unsere Systeme sind an 6 Standorten gelaufen, auf 2 Kontinenten. Und das unter den schwierigsten Bedingungen. Wir haben Sturm, Schnee, wir haben Hitze, wir haben Sand. Alles, was man sich vorstellen kann. Wir haben jetzt einige Projekte noch in der Pipeline, unter anderem mit einem führenden Automobilhersteller, wo wir ein weiteres System im September testen werden. Momentan sind wir an 2 Standorten aktiv. Einmal in Irland mit unserem Partner RWE, das ist einer der größten Energieunternehmen weltweit. Und in den Niederlanden mit einem der größten Baukonzerne des Landes. Und diese Beispiele zeigen, unsere Technologie ist im Einsatz. Dabei haben wir unsere Technologie so entwickelt, dass sie leicht skalierbar ist, simpel und hocheffizient. Also unsere Umsetzung ist einzigartig auf der Welt. Die besteht aus 3 Hauptkomponenten. Das ist ein Kite, darunter ist eine Steuerungseinheit und die ist mit einer Leine verbunden mit der Bodenstation. In der Bodenstation befindet sich eine Seilwinde und der Kite, der fliegt eine 8 und zieht dabei das Seil raus und so wird Strom erzeugt, dadurch, dass sich die Seilwinde dreht, bis zu einer maximalen Höhe. Wir machen bis 350 Meter und wir brauchen einen kleinen Teil der Energie, die wir erzeugen, um das Seil wieder aufzuspulen und dann der Kite zurückgleitet. Und dann geht es wieder von vorne los. Also das Ergebnis ist kontinuierlich Energie. Und hier ist ein schönes Schaubild. Also jetzt geht er raus und dann am Ende geht er wieder rein und rechts sieht man die Energieausbeute. Wieso ist das so genial? Weil wir so wenig Material benutzen, können wir potenziell Strom sehr kostengünstig produzieren. Also unsere Anlage passt in Container. Wir brauchen ungefähr ein Zehntel von dem Material von vergleichbaren Technologien. Und im Vergleich zu klassischen Dieselgenerator spart unser System enorme Mengen an CO2 und Treibstoff. Ja, und es ist leicht überall hin zu transportieren. So sieht das aus. Das kann man auf dem Truck, der hat da so einen Haken dran, da kann er das installieren. Und kann leicht überall hin transportiert werden und einfach installiert werden. Und das ist jetzt ein 20-Fuß-Container, aber ich muss euch sagen, der Inhalt dieses Containers, das ist hauptsächlich Luft. Da ist noch ein Haufen Platz, ein Haufen Luft nach oben. Oder um es noch kleiner zu bauen. Wo kommt es zum Einsatz? Was ist die natürliche Ort für mobile Windkraft? Überall dort, wo schnell und flexibel Strom benötigt wird. Zum Beispiel auf Baustellen ohne Netzanschluss oder in abgelegenen Regionen. Hier haben wir zum Beispiel unser System schon auf der Karibikinsel Aruba erfolgreich eingesetzt. Und damit machen wir Strom verfügbar, wo und wann man ihn braucht, ohne teure Infrastruktur oder lange Vorlaufzeiten. Das ist wichtig für die Deichrenovierung, wo wir gerade sind, in den Niederlanden. Und auch für das Projekt im September, da renovieren wir eine Brücke. Da macht sich noch ein entscheidender anderer Vorteil, entwickelt sich da, und zwar Genehmigung. Wir können hier unser System in ein Überlaufbecken von einem Fluss platzieren und da darf man maximal 50 Quadratmeter hinbauen. Und der Container ist drunter, Solar-PV nicht. Und wir sind das einzige Unternehmen weltweit eigentlich, das mit wir haben eine EU-weite Betriebserlaubnis für unsere Flugwindenergie und haben das schon grenzüberschreitend eingesetzt in Irland. Und wir dürfen unsere Kiteanlagen ganz offiziell in ganz Europa betreiben und auch über Ländergrenzen hinweg. Und das ist auch ein Alleinstellungsmerkmal für Kitepower. Ich denke, das schafft uns einen enormen Vorsprung gegenüber den Mitbewerbern. Und wir haben natürlich die entsprechenden Trainings und Zertifizierungen. Wir haben Kite Operator, eine neue Profession gegründet. So, Geschäftsmodell. Wir installieren ein System und machen dazu den Service. Das heißt all in one, Energy as a Service. Und die Nachfrage ist da und wächst. Und das ist projektspezifisch, die Kosten, aber roundabout sind wir bei 10.000 Euro pro Monat. Und unsere Kunden nur für eine Batterie, was noch keinen Strom erzeugt, bezahlen sie ungefähr 14.000 Euro im Monat. Also es macht Sinn. Aber im Prinzip geht es hier nicht um wie viel Euro pro Kilowattstunde. Es geht, habe ich dieses Projekt, kann ich das machen oder nicht? Es ist Strom oder nicht? Kriege ich diese Ausschreibung? Gewinne ich die oder nicht? Das heißt, da wird der Wert von Kitepower anders gemessen. Und das machen wir jetzt. Wir validieren gerade das Geschäftsmodell und wir merken, dass da ein enormer Market Pull ist. Und jetzt ist auch für Sie eigentlich der ideale Zeitpunkt, um einzusteigen, weil das machen wir jetzt mit der Finanzierungsrunde und dann wollen wir in Zukunft Parks installieren. Unser nächstes System, das braucht nochmal eine Finanzierungsrunde, da können wir hochskalieren und dann 30 Systeme in einem Park installieren. Und auch in der Politik finden wir schon Anklang. Also erst letzte Woche waren wir mit unserem Dachverband in Berlin und haben dort was vorgestellt. Ich bin der stellvertretende Vorsitzender, konnte nicht da sein, aber da haben wir vor Politikern unseren Impact auf die deutsche Industrie vorgestellt. Und deswegen sind wir auch im Koalitionsvertrag und das gibt uns natürlich zusätzlichen Rückenwind. Unser Plan ist dann irgendwie 2030, wenn wir so einen Park installiert haben, potenziellen Exit für einen strategischen Partner. Wir arbeiten mit RWE, Enercon, Uniper, ANG, Vestas. Mit all denen waren wir schon in Kontakt. So, das ist nochmal hier grafisch. Das ist eine extrem gute Strategie. Und das Investment ist ziemlich attraktiv für Kitepower jetzt. Unsere Firmenbewertung ist bei 5 Millionen. Wenn man das vergleicht mit unserer Konkurrenz SkySales zum Beispiel, ich weiß jetzt nicht wie viel genau, aber die sind bestimmt bei 50 Millionen, 10-mal höher bewertet. Die haben ein System auf Mauritius, die haben auch eine gemessene Leistungskurve, was gut ist. Wir haben keinen erkennbaren Nischenfokus, so wie wir. Und die haben natürlich ein großes Team mit einer großen Burnrate, machen viel in-house, haben nicht so viele Partner und sind dadurch weniger agil. Beim Enerkite zum Beispiel, die sind bei 25 Millionen bewertet bei der letzten Runde und die haben zum Beispiel dann Kunden noch kein System im Einsatz. Also, jetzt bei Kitepower einsteigen ist eigentlich eine verdammt clevere Idee. Wir haben mehrere Anlagen erfolgreich in Betrieb, wir haben zahlende Nutzer und wir haben eine EU-weite Betriebslizenz. Und wir sind dadurch hervorragend positioniert, um in dem jungen Markt von Höhenwindtechnologie eine führende Rolle zu spielen. Und mit Ihrer Unterstützung machen wir das auch möglich. Kurz noch zu den Angeboten. Das ist natürlich danke für FunderNation, dass Sie die Plattform bereitstellen. Die kann man ziemlich einfach mit 100 Euro schon investieren. Bis 25.000 ist das ein Darlehen, was super genial ist. Man wird ausgezahlt, bevor alle anderen Gesellschafter ihr Geld kriegen. Also das haben schon manche von meinen Bestandsgesellschaftern angeprangert, dass die dann vorher das Geld kriegen. Ich habe auch selber investiert, finde ich eine super Sache. Man kriegt nach 7 Jahren dann sein Geld mit all den Zulagen zurück. Ist genial. Natürlich nicht ohne Risiko. Wir sind immer noch ein Startup. Wer mehr will, ab 25.000 bis 80.000 kann man dann kann man direkt Equity kriegen über ein Special Purpose Vehicle. Das machen wir dann über eine Plattform Und das Coole ist, außer dass man Kitesurf-Kite kriegt, dass man auch über diese Plattform das vorher schon traden kann. Ja, man kann seine Anteile dann in der internen Markt schon verkaufen. Und wer dann mit uns am Tisch sitzen will, regelmäßig in den Shareholder-Meeting, der kann dann 80.000 € plus investieren und dann sitzt er mit uns in den Strategie-Sessions und kann aktiv beitragen. Und alles super Sachen. Und Unterstützung ist willkommen. Wir sind ein hochmotiviertes Team. Und remember, Kites up, Carbon down. Das war's. Fragen?
Ja, Johannes, erstmal vielen Dank für den sehr interessanten Pitch. Jetzt geht es in die Fragerunde. Wir haben jetzt noch gut 40 Minuten Zeit für Fragen. Ich schaue mal gerade in den Chat rein, ob da schon was ist. Ich glaube noch nicht, aber ich würde auf jeden Fall schon mal selber mit einer Frage anfangen. Du hast es ganz kurz angerissen, Johannes, was die Kosten anbelangt. Das ist aber ein bisschen übersprungen. Ich muss aber trotzdem nochmal nachfragen, weil das interessiert mich natürlich sehr und sicher auch Investoren. Die Stromgestehungskosten, das ist ja schon ein Faktor, der interessant ist im Wettbewerb jetzt auch mit anderen Energieformen und auch die Wirtschaftlichkeit, um die Wirtschaftlichkeit zu zeigen. Ich glaube, du hast auf einer Slide drauf gehabt, irgendwie 10 Cent pro Kilowattstunde, aber das ist, glaube ich, erst die neue Generation eurer Anlagen. Wo steht ihr denn jetzt heute mit der Hawk? Das ist ja die aktuelle Generation der Anlage.
Genau, eben in Zukunft arbeiten wir darauf hin, auf 10 Cent pro Kilowattstunde, dann können wir die EEG-Förderung nutzen. Ja, das wird nochmal eine Neuentwicklung, da braucht man einen größeren Kite und ein kosteneffizienteres System. Momentan sind wir auf Baustellen, da rechnen wir nicht unbedingt mit Cent pro Kilowattstunde. Ja, da liefern wir einen Mehrwert dadurch, dass wir Strom verfügbar haben auf der Baustelle. Und momentan die Alternative ist, Batterien hin und her zu bringen. Das heißt, man ladet die Batterie dann auf einen Truck. Den Truck muss man erstmal haben. Man braucht einen Fahrer und den fährt man zur nächsten Ladestation, lädt dort auf und fährt wieder zurück. Das kostet ungefähr 2 bis 3 € die Kilowattstunde. Das heißt, mit unserem ersten System vom Hawk steigen wir irgendwo ein zwischen 30 Cent und 1 € pro Kilowattstunde in dem Bereich.
Und das funktioniert aber als Geschäftsmodell, weil eure Kunden da keine Alternative haben, quasi in die Pampas Strom reinzubringen, wo gebaut wird. Mhm.
Und da geht es nicht so um, also diese totalen Kosten von dem System, das dort zu haben, ist nicht signifikant. Ja, das sind Billionen Beträge, die diese Baustellen verschlingen.
Okay, und der Use Case in Irland mit RWE, was ist da der Grund, warum Irland das mit euch macht?
Yeah, maybe I also answer make the question in English. So why are we doing? What are we doing in Ireland? Mit RWE haben wir einen Rahmenvertrag geschlossen. Die sichern sich dadurch 20% unserer Produktionskapazität, wenn wir Megawatt-Skalierung erreichen. Und die bekommen zusätzlich noch einen Discount, einen besseren Preis. Und im Gegenzug wollen die als erstes die Finger drauf kriegen. Das heißt, alles, was wir noch entwickeln, können die zuerst kaufen. Und dadurch haben die uns dieses Testgelände zur Verfügung gestellt. Und dort teilen wir alle unsere Messdaten und wo wir gerade sind.
Mhm. Okay. Also das heißt, ihr habt jetzt erstmal Special Use Cases, wo eure Technologie einfach große Vorteile liefert und wollt aber mit der nächsten Generation dann auch den Kostenfaktor nochmal deutlich reduzieren, um quasi die Use Cases zu verbreiten. Aber die nächste Frage, ich nehme gleich die Frage aus dem Chat, aber meine Frage wäre, wie ist denn eure Marktgröße? Habt ihr einen so großen Markt, dass ihr das Thema auch skalieren könnt? Und sagen wir mal, irgendwann in eine Serienproduktion reinkommt. Das wäre jetzt die Frage, die ich noch voranstellen möchte.
Wir haben verschiedene Ziele mit dieser Nischenstrategie. natürlich wollen wir erstmal an den Markt kommen, unsere Systeme in Betrieb haben und wir wollen Wert schaffen. Also, dass wir das, was wir bekommen an Geld, auch im Gegenwert liefern. Und das ist der Fall hier. Und in den Niederlanden haben wir einen Markt von so 30 Systemen. Und dann kommt England und Europa und dann sind es hunderte Systeme für diese kleinen. Und das ist nur Europa. Wenn unser Hawk bei 30 Cent konkurrenzfähig ist mit Diesel, dann erschließen sich auch sämtliche Regionen, es sind 10.000 Inseln auf der Welt, wo man Kitepower auch einsetzen könnte. Und da haben wir auch schon mit verschiedenen Leuten geredet. Also es gibt unzählige Standorte für dieses Off-Grid-System.
Okay. Maybe to add to what Johannes is saying, so we are addressing two markets, right? The market for cost-effective, large-scale energy for utility companies, and we're addressing the market for providing power at places where power is difficult to get, as with the construction companies. And the pricing model, as Jans was saying, is very different there. The need by these kind of companies is much more about having the power available, much more than the price per kilowatt hour. Because all these construction companies, and this is, I'm sure, true everywhere in Europe, they have to comply with very strict rules when it comes to zero emissions. So when a construction company needs to develop a road or an apartment building or any of those assets, they have to produce them with a certain limited amount of CO2 emissions. And they dramatically need services like ours to reduce the emissions by the trucks, for example, that transport things, or by the excavators that have to dig the ground and all these kind of things. And what I found very, very, very interesting and positively surprising is that when we started our first pilot with this Duravermeer, which is a Dutch construction company, and we sort of reached a little bit of exposure in the media, we got various phone calls from other large-scale construction companies that were also working on road building projects that basically asked us, when can you have a system available for us? So what it proves to me, and I have this marketing background that I talked about earlier, is that apparently we're addressing a market where there is a very strong need. We need some time to get it ready and to have enough power per system available, and then we will go into this phase where we have to mass produce them, so to start to produce them at a cheaper rate by using components from industry standards and so forth. But there is a very strong market for low or zero emission energy systems that can be deployed quickly at a location where there is congestion or limited power at that very moment. Construction companies, but you can also think about neighborhoods that are being developed. We hear there's also in the UK, in England, where there are new neighborhoods being developed near cities, in suburban areas, and where the homes are ready already, so they have been developed, but there's not enough power to power all these homes. And then we can deploy temporarily a small kite fleet, a kite park that produces then just enough peak power for such a neighborhood, for all the inhabitants to start living there. And that agility that we're having to make power available when it's needed, at a location where it's needed, that's a very interesting business model. And when you read reports, and I'm sure you all did that, given that you have interest in this business, when you've read the recent Bloomberg reports, and as you know, Bloomberg is a very famous American consulting advisory, they keep writing about that the game that we're playing with energy is more and more becoming the one of having the right amount of energy available at the right place at the right time, more than having a constant base load for everyone. And this is where we're playing with our Hawk and Falcon system. I just wanted to add that, Johannes, so as an illustration.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Peter.
I think maybe we can ask questions in English, then it's a bit more...
Yes, that's what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say, we can... You understand? You understand?
Yeah,
okay.
Clearly.
So if you understand, then let's keep the questions in German, but you can always come in and everybody understands English. No problem. Okay, then let's do it like this. Ich würde die nächste Frage, then I would like to go on with the next question out of the chat. Da geht es nämlich nochmal um technisch die Frage, wie ist denn die Start- und Landephase aus und in den Container? wie kommt der Strom da eigentlich, also gibt es eine Batterie im System oder wie wird der Strom geliefert, wenn der Kite dann eingezogen werden muss? Und noch der Zusatzfrage, wie viel Zeitanteil hat das Einfahren im Verhältnis zum Einfahren im Verhältnis zum Einfahren des Kites, also im Verhältnis zur Stromproduktion, schätze ich mal. Also wie viel Zeit wird kein Strom generiert, sondern eingefahren? Wenn ihr das vielleicht nochmal beantworten könnt.
That's a great question for Claudio, I think, just to translate. So the question is, how do we launch and land, basically? How do we store the energy when we reel the kite back in? And there was a third part of the question, which was the...
I think the proportion. Yeah, the proportion of exactly.
All right, so the cycle, let's break this down into 3 steps. So the first part is that we have to launch this kite. Currently, we have to launch it from a certain distance. It's a process that we're optimizing, but you place the kite at around 150 to 300 meters from the ground station, depending on the conditions. And once you set it up, then it will launch automatically. It will go to the zenith and start doing the power production and keep operating until the wind dies out. Now, today we are working on a new kite. We actually had a very, very good example this morning where we were able to land the kite much closer to the ground station. We are right now at 38 meters of landing distance. And one of our main goals is to be able to land it very close and also launch it from very close, because we know that space is a very important constraint in all of these sites. That's with respect to launching and landing. Eventually, it will launch from a mast and it will land into a mast as well. So we have a new kite that will make it much easier for us to do that. When it comes to the pumping cycle, the amount of energy currently that we require to bring it back in is coming from a supercapacitor. We're not using batteries, because when you cycle the batteries too many times, they will just age too fast. So we have something like 0.6 kilowatt hours of supercapacitor inside of the ground station. So we charge them when the kite is reeling out, producing energy, and then we discharge them to bring the kite back in. Currently, the fraction of the energy that is used when you reel it back in is in the order of like 20%, 30%. But we are making changes to the software and also to the kite itself, so that we can bring it down to. We think that it's feasible to get it to in the order of 10%. And right now we're not pushing really the limits of the system, because we have been focusing mostly on reliable operation. And the goal for the next 6 months to the next year is really to do the energy optimization for the entire cycle, which involves having a faster. Right now it takes, maybe if your entire cycle takes 120 seconds, it's not unusual that we are reeling in for 40 seconds of those 120 seconds. We should be able to do it in around like half the time once we optimize the kite and also optimize the software that will do the reeling phase as well.
And how do you deliver the currency, the electricity? Is there a battery in the system?
So we can do it in 2 ways. We have an AC interface that can be hooked up to a conventional grid, a 3-phase grid. So you could contribute to the larger power system or to an isolated microgrid. And also we could charge a standalone battery energy storage system. In the pilots that we have right now, we have done the latter. So we use an external battery to store the energy from the flights, and then you can bring your machines to charge at that point. So we have also a CCS2 fast charger connected to that energy storage system, so that our customer can bring their electric tractors that need high charging rates to the site. But we could also position it next to their offices if the space around the offices is adequate for flying the kite. And in that case, we would not need the battery, and the supercapacitor would take care of the cycle of the kite going out and in.
Okay, thank you. The next questions out of the chat, I would translate it. So what is the wind areas that your system is working in, and then what is the geographical areas where it's useful to operate your system? And are there acoustic emissions?
Currently, we're operating in two areas. One is Ireland, Republic of Ireland, on the west coast, and also near Culemborg in the Netherlands. Basically, any area is suitable for the kite as long as you have enough space. So right now, we need a radius of about 400 meters. And we can program the software so that it can exclude some sections. So like, for example, if you have some areas where you have water or you have buildings that you don't want to fly over, then one could just take one section of that circle, not fly the entire circle. The wind speed range right now, what we're testing, goes between 5 meters per second up to 18 meters per second. That's where is the current operating envelope, and we're working on expanding that on the lower end, especially with lighter kites.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. I think the next question is again going to you. Technical question: what are the currently three most? No, acoustic emissions. Did you already answer this?
Oh, acoustic, yeah, I did address acoustic emissions. So acoustic emissions is something that we are seeing that they come from two places. One is just the flight of the kite, which we actually have some research being done at the university characterizing this in terms of the distribution of noise and also the intensity. So the noise from the kite, we can say that it's not disturbing for wildlife or for people around there. We do have an airborne wind turbine that currently spins a little fast. And one of the things that we are working on is making that wind turbine, and I need to explain this a little bit. So the robot that is driving the kite, we have these two motors that are pulling the strings. It's like you have a flying kite surfer that is doing all the maneuvering. That needs power. And we don't carry power through the tether, the line that connects the kite to the ground station. So you need to keep that battery that powers the motors charged somehow. So we have a little airborne wind turbine that operates at high speed. That is a source of a noticeable signature of the kite flying. It's not something that has led anyone to complain about the kite, but it's something that we will have to work on as part of the product development phase in bringing that sound down.
Okay. Next question is the currently three most important technical issues which need to be solved in order to be ready for mass production. That's something that we work on a regular basis. So the first thing is the cycle efficiency that has to do with the lean energy consumption that I mentioned before. We need to make the cycle more efficient. The second thing is the level of automation for the system in terms of like being able to take off and land on its own. And the third thing is the power curve, the productivity of the kite, especially at low wind speeds. So as I said, we're working on this new kite that now will be able to provide a flatter power production curve, so that say that right now with the Hawk, which is the prototype demonstration system, we're peaking at around say 30 kilowatts. We would like to extend that to the left, meaning that for low wind speeds, we can also generate high power. And in the case of the kites, you can simply do that by having a bigger kite. You could even have a kite for windy days and a kite for not so windy days. So those, in my mind, are the most important problems that we're working on right now. And you are a team. You're not a huge team, as you said. There are competitors who have a bigger team. I think you have about 20 people, FTEs, full-time employees. Do you think this is suitable for the technical development, also to do it in a kind of fast manner?
So the approach that we're following there is that we have only the people that we have in-house is the one that have like very specialized knowledge to this application. And we partnered with other companies, like we have been working with a company in India, for example, and some other companies around here for things that after you have a specification, they can be done in a more conventional way. Like, for example, developing electronics, developing winches, developing communication systems, and so on. When we move into the product development phase, we're going to rely on that capacity to do the engineering, following the specifications and the prototypes that we have in-house. So we're not going to increase our burn rate to get the product out, because then that means that the company is harder to sustain after that. But we're going to keep maybe we're going to grow the team a little bit, but most of them, what you could call more conventional engineering, will be done with partners in different places.
Okay, thank you. The next question, I think, goes to Peter or Johannes. So it's again about your business model and market entry strategy. I think it's outstanding that you already have customers and your systems are operating and you make money with it already, or you make revenues, not yet money. You're not profitable, of course. But could you please give more details about your addressable market, the market entry strategy, again, explaining your business model, and could you give us an outlook of revenues?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for asking. Of course, this is the key for most businesses. As we discussed in our introduction, we're following a two-phase strategy in terms of market entry and in terms of business model. We start with renting out on an energy as a service model our systems to users of energy in situations where energy is less available. So the construction business and other areas where it's difficult to get grid connections, either because the grid is congested or because you're too far away from the grid. And that is and for that purpose, we will be owning a couple of systems that we will be renting out on the basis of a monthly fee for having the system available at your site, plus a rate per kilowatt hour. We follow this strategy first because it allows us with a limited number of systems to make revenue, plus this market of construction business and other users that use systems where energy is not so much available. That market is growing and the price per kilowatt hour is quite high. Plus, it's a market where we have a lot of flexibility. We can adjust our proposition on different segments in the market. We can quickly adopt, and we make earnings sooner rather than later because we can get multiple revenues from a system that we bring to different locations depending on the demand. The second phase is where we will be selling our systems to utility companies and other larger clients who want to use these systems in parks where they produce energy at a competitive price, competitive with other mass producing energy resources such as turbines and so forth. So that's our approach that we follow. Let me see what was the other question as well. So the market entry is about addressing these two target groups and grow from there. We have a lot of numbers that we can share probably in an individual call, but this gives us already in 2028, to give you an idea, 22 million of revenue, which comes largely from the rental and already partially from selling the systems to utility companies.
Okay. Thank you. Again, a technical question about how the kite is lifted off the ground during the starting phase, and what is the minimal wind speed needed for that? Can you operate at every wind situation, or do you require certain minimum wind speed?
Okay, is it okay if I show a video, because I don't know if you have seen the kite launching.
Yeah, please do so.
You can.
Okay. So here's the kite on the left-hand side, and here on the right-hand side is the ground station. Is this little blue container here. So now that there's no operators anywhere, so the kite was just positioned on the ground there, and it automatically just when the ground station gives it a little pull, we call it a jerk, then the kite control unit will just manage to fly to where you see it here, and then it will start cycling. So it's completely automated, the process for getting the kite up in the air from the ground. And currently, we actually can get it up in the air for quite low wind speeds, like even lower than the operational envelope, because since we have some distance to the ground station can pull it in and create a pattern wind speed by reeling it in. But we don't see a point in launching that if the wind speed is, say, below 5 or 6 meters per second, because you're not going to get a good, meaningful amount of output power.
Okay, thank you. Then a very important question for investors is your USPs, your unique business proposition, and what elements of those are secured by patents.
Yeah, perhaps we can answer them in 2 steps. So I can answer the first bit, and you could do the second bit, perhaps, Johannes. I think what's the USP, and thanks for asking, because of course that's always a very key element of developing a company. I think the USP of our proposition is the fact that we can capture, first of all, more wind than wind turbines can with a simpler setup. Wind is usually much stronger at altitudes above 200 meters. And this is the area where wind turbines can barely reach wind. And we fly, our system that's now in the Netherlands already flies at 250 meters. And we're working towards flying at much higher altitudes. So that's already unique. The other thing that makes us unique is that we can deploy our system very quickly. As we discussed 20 minutes ago or so, if you want to create wind power with a traditional wind turbine, which is a great solution, by the way, but then you have to get permissions, and you have to get a building team there, and you have to build a large mast, and you have to use a lot of concrete, and it takes a long time to get it there, and then you need it to be in place there for 25 years or so to get a nice return, or at least a reasonable return on investment there. We can drive our container tomorrow to the place where energy is needed and start producing the energy that same day tomorrow and use it for as long as it is needed. And if you need energy for the next half year because there's not enough power available, or because there's an area where we want to produce energy for a year or so, that's immediately a positive in terms of ROI. I think that's another USP that we're bringing. And then thirdly, our systems use a lot less material. It's basically a standardized shipping container with a bit of fabric and some wires and a small computer and a drum that reels in and reels out the tether. That's nothing compared to all the concrete and the vast amount of material that you need for building things like wind turbines and even solar panels. And I think we're moving to a world where the expectation of people in the world is about doing things smart, using less material. There is such an interest and such an important need to build a sustainable society where we don't take away that much of materials that you need for composite materials for making turbine blades, or concrete that emits a lot of CO2. Our systems are very, very lean and low on material, and also much lower in cost. And the last element, I think that's what we started our discussion with, is that we can bring power to places where power is not so much available. So in both business usages, in both business cases, from a customer's perspective, we have the USPs. Again, those who want to produce for a longer time energy can do so with a more effective system, since we harvest energy at higher altitudes. And we can bring that solution quicker to their location with a lower investment need, or no investment need at all. And for those who need energy for a month or so because they are working on a production site, those people we can help instantly and bring power where it's needed. I think those two are quite unique selling points in my view. Maybe, Johannes, you can talk a little bit about what we have patented so far.
Yes, we have filed 5 patents. Some of them we published to guarantee the freedom to operate and bring the industry also forward. We hold 2 active patents revolving around the kite itself and also the launch and landing system. So we framed them pretty broad and we'll scope them at a later point. And we have 2 more in the pipeline also related to the safety system and our new kite.
Okay.
So I think Claudio has to drop out, or he's already has to leave. So yeah, he has to catch a train. So I'll take the technical questions, I think.
Okay, because there is another add-on to the question. Your specific USPs, technical advantages versus the competition who operate in the same space.
So we're talking about other airborne wind energy companies.
Yes, I would interpret this question like this.
I think you can. I mean, they're all doing pretty great work, I have to say. I know them pretty well, and they're all fighting for the same goal. They all bark at the same tree, and they're doing a marvelous job, I think. What makes us special is, I think, the tremendous amount of operational time in the different locations. We know how it is to operate. We measure our power curve. We make our estimations on real world experience. And that in combination with a very strong partner network. So TU Delft, for example, I have 3 PhDs just sitting at Kitepower. So we have the core knowledge, we have the operational experience, and we have the partners to execute. And then bring an experienced management team on top, and you have a winning combination. So I think we are really well positioned with our team, with our partners, with our experience, and with the agility that we still remain. So I think we will play the important role at airborne wind energy. And I think the pie is big enough. So a win for us is a win for the competition. So I think they're doing a good job. I think there's only one who has also deployed a system at a customer site, which has been mentioned, but the others are also working hard. But we're the best, of course, to summarize.
Okay, thank you. I would like to add a question regarding the competition from the more classical wind turbines. One problem with the classical wind turbines is that they have high maintenance efforts and costs, and have high cost of repair. So things get bad quickly, and you have to repair them. Do you have the same problem?
We have some costs for maintenance. Also, our system components, they don't last forever. So our kite, our tether, that's consumable. I don't see it as a problem. I think it's one of our strongest assets, because it means we have a strong customer binding because he needs replacement parts, and every replacement part is better than the old one. So every kite that we ever built is better than the previous version. And if we have a cycle through the kites of 1 year, that means every year you get a couple % more energy, you get a couple % longer lifetime, and that's the winning concept. And the kite costs us nothing, and with that we have the winning combination. Every scale needs a different solution. So if we build a 1 megawatt kite, it will look different than a 100 kilowatt kite. We have the knowledge in-house to get the best out of all worlds. So you trade off performance for safety, for cost, like in the end, cost per flight hour or cost per kilowatt hour. And that's what we optimize for.
Okay. Okay, then I take another question. How does it work from a regulatory point of view? Do you need a special permission each time?
So how it works with these EASA regulations with the drones, we get one operational allowance in the Netherlands. Then we have a nice form, a A4 paper. If we want to have a cross-border application, so if we want to fly in Ireland, we fill out this form. 3 weeks later, we get an okay to fly there, and that's applicable for the whole country. So in the Netherlands, we have to do it once. In Ireland, we have to do it once.
In Germany?
There is also in Germany, we're in the process, so we also need it once. And there is there's specific elements to the site. So we have a local risk assessment. So what happens if, it's extreme cases? How do we counteract and reduce the risk for a specific location? That's what we have to put per location. But the overall framework is once, and then we have to say on this location we want to use that permit. and that's usually really fast. The first time it takes long.
Okay. Thank you. I think this answers the question. Another question is about the cost of a system. Do you differentiate in between a small system, big system, and again, the regulatory point of view in areas, in living areas, more rural areas? Is there a difference? I think you answered it, but maybe you can pick up this point again. Guarantees, do you give guarantees, and do you rent your system as well? Do you sell your system or do you rent it?
Maybe to, and Jans will fill me in with regard to the other questions, but I think, and also this is a very important question because it allows us to talk a little bit about value. So we are a startup, sort of in the beginning of our scale up, and we know, of course, the costs of material that we use and the time that it takes to make a device. But we will sell this at a value that is, by definition, attractive and for a customer. So in the rental space, it is easy because in the rental space, we know the cost of producing kilowatt hours from diesel that Johannes talked about a little earlier. We know the cost of driving a battery up and down from a charging station to a work site. And we simply, make sure that our cost is on a par or lower. And that's how we work. And the same is true for selling the system to utilities. We haven't yet set a price. So we can't say this yet, but we will sell this at a cost that is lower for them. But that will be a relatively easy challenge for us since the capex for the alternative, which is either wind via wind turbines or solar, is quite high. So we can easily, and that's a little simple to say, but we can quite easily go under that price in a way that we are an attractive alternative.
Okay. Another question about the permission. Is there a limit in terms of how high can you fly with your kites?
There is, like right now we set the limit ourselves. So that's 800 meters in Ireland. We have 425 in the Netherlands. So basically apply the height we need for the specific location. So we have a bit of options. In general, it's always a trade-off of, the higher you go, the more longer you can fly, the more energy you generate, but the more ground space you use. So an example for Germany, market study, 800 meter line, you have a market potential of, 20 megawatt. And then for half the tether, what we have, 400 meters, you have over 100 gigawatt potential. So like the sites increase a lot if you have a shorter tether, and that's what we optimize for. But it's not because of the permit.
Okay.
Permit we can go.
Okay, thank you. I would like, as we already progressed a little bit in terms of time, I would like to ask about the financing round. You ask only for 1 million euro. That seems to me not such a big sum. So what do you need this money for? What is the use of the money? And how far will it bring you? When do you need to finance the next round?
Very good question. So in my slideshow, this is now a bridge round. We want to get through these projects. We don't get enough revenues to sustain the company. So validate our business, do the projects we have in the pipeline, and then create enough traction. So that basically fill up the pipeline for the use case of the smaller systems and the bigger systems. And then we need another round. So basically with that round, we do next year, or we have to close next year to scale up. That's the plan.
Okay. And with respect to the valuation, it's compared to your competitors, it's quite attractive valuation out of the point of view of an investor. So could you explain to us why did you choose this valuation? What is the reasons for this valuation?
With an Excel sheet, you can come up with any kind of valuation for a startup like ours. I think also our competitors have a very nice way to justify their valuation, which is basically based on future revenue in the market you're aiming for. What I think is we are in a competition with other investments, so people can invest in AI companies and others. And I think this is a very attractive and fair offer. And it's not 2019 anymore with valuations. So we've decided to go a bit lower because we are in for making that happen now. And if it happens, there will be a big reward. So yeah, that's why we're going a bit lower now.
Okay. Thank you. I look into the chat. Ich sehe keine weiteren Fragen momentan. We already used our 1 hour, so I think we can come to an end. Maybe the last question to you is summarize maybe very briefly why should an investor invest exactly now in Kitepower?
I think that's a very good deal now. We're now in this phase where we just see the first commercial traction. We have the systems deployed. We have de-risked most of the things. So if you join now, it's perfect timing for angel investors, because the next rounds, they will not be open for angels any more than it's VC. So it's the last chance. And now, yeah, it's basically, it's a good deal. Plus you do something for the environment, right? This is making the world a better place. Just one last thing I would like to do. I would like to share my screen. And if you want to get in touch and have a meeting with me or with Peter, you can do that so via our website. If you just click Invest Now, and then there's a form. And don't shy away. You fill out your name, your email, and your area. You click on the button and we'll get in touch with you. And if you have any further questions, that's where it will be answered.
Yeah, and we're happy to take you through a lot of financial details and everything, because this may help you get convinced about this as well.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one additional information from my side. The early bird discount will only last for a couple of days until Sunday. So at the moment, the valuation is 5 million euro, and I think from Monday on next week, it's 6 million. Am I right?
That's right. This is our special week.
Or is it? Yeah. Okay, good. Dann vielen Dank für die ausführliche Präsentation, für die Beantwortung der Fragen. Thank you very much for your time and answering the questions. And thank you all for your attention. I wish you all the best for developing the technology and the business. And of course, also all the best for the financing round. Ja, danke nochmal an alle und ja, ich hoffe, wir sehen uns bei der beim nächsten Live-Pitch wieder. Und erstmal heute euch allen einen schönen Abend. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.
Thanks a lot, guys. It was great to have you in the session. Thanks so much.
Wiedersehen.
Ciao.